How's it going, you guys? It's Scott with Everyday Shed. Today I want to walk you through the easiest way to build a ramp for your storage shed. Now, if you're like most of us, your storage shed is considerably off the ground if you're sitting on skids or you just have a wood floor as opposed to a concrete slab. So to make this more functional, we need some form of ramp. So when we're pulling a lawnmower in or just pushing a push mower in or just trying to get a grill in our storage shed, it's a lot easier to get from the ground surface to our subfloor here. Now, we built a few different ones over the years, but this can turn into a day-long project, and that's why we put together a much easier kit, which should result in a quick and sturdy ramp build. So let's jump into it. So first up, we need the plan of attack on how long do we need our ramps, and this is going to be different for all of us, but we put together a few helpful resources for you. First, you need to get your rise. From where your ramp's gonna land on the ground to the top of your subfloor, how tall is that? So let's go ahead and get our measurement here. So for me, it's gonna be about 8 inches. Then you need to decide how gradual of a slope do you want? Do you want it very gradual, easy to get into, not as slippery if it's wet, and maybe you have somebody older that you're building this ramp for, so they need a little help getting the lawnmower in, and you just want it more gradual? We'll pick that column. And then on the rows, you can see, okay, where is the rise? 8 inches. That's going to give you your overall ramp length. For us, we're going to go with a moderate slope, so a little more aggressive slope, but not all the way up to the aggressive column. Maybe you're limited on space and you need to go with the aggressive to still have somewhat of a ramp. That's why we gave you those different columns to help you decide what is the right ramp length for you. Now, specifically for us, with the 8-inch rise and a moderate slope, that means 4 foot. That's how long our ramp's gonna be. So let's go out and start cutting our lumber and putting together our ramps. So once you have your length selected, you'll go ahead and just cut your 2x8s. Now you can use 2x6s. Maybe you have some additional 2x6s from your floor joists on the shed, but we recommend 2x8s. You're gonna need 3 of those per 23-inch ramp kit. So for me, I need to cut 6 of those at 48 inches. Best practice would be to cut your first one right at 48 and then use that as your template. Don't rotate the boards, but keep that same board as your template so you can get as close to the exact 48-inch measurement or whatever measurement you're going to with each of your cuts. And then you'll need 2 cross members here. I have just 2x4s. And remember, this should be ground contact pressure treated boards. That's your best practice for at least your 2x8s and preferably your 2x4s if you can get them. But these are only going to be needed to cut the width of the ramps, which is 23 inches. You can use 2x4s, 2x6s, or 2x8s. Those all will work just fine. And then in your kit, you'll have the 2 C channels. Those will really be your end caps for each of the kits. You'll have these L brackets here, which are what are gonna hook the ramp onto your shed. And then you have your 3 sections of what's called the double J hook. That might not make as much sense when you look at it, but once it's installed, you'll see the purpose of that, and it actually comes in pretty darn handy. And then in the kit, you'll both find 1.5 and 2.5-inch screws. So let's go ahead and start our assembly, and you'll see where those fasteners are all used, so you can start assembling your own ramp kits. It would be best if you're on a concrete driveway or some flat surface to lay out your 2x8s, and then you'll just start to space those. I like to start on this L bracket, which would be the top of the ramp that's going to hook onto your shed. And then I start to position my outside boards and space my middle one so my gaps are overall even. Now, once I feel good about that, these 1.5-inch screws that have a flat washer head, I'll just go ahead and start sinking 4 of those per 2x8 board. Now, once those are all secured, I'll flip everything around and then start putting on the diamond plate C channel, and that's at the bottom of your ramp. What's going to be in contact with your packed gravel or possibly even your grass. These do not have holes, so they will self-pierce with those 1.5-inch spax screws, and you can start to sink those. I like to put at least 3 in each board just to hold everything secure. Then when that is finished, you'll go ahead and go onto your support, and I'm just going to put it right in the middle of my ramp. Depending on the length, maybe you'd even do 2 different supports in the middle here just to give it a little bit more structure. But with this ramp being only 4 foot, having only 1 support in the middle, and that could be a 2x6 or a 2x8, but I'm just using a 2x4. And here's the end product. You can see before we start mounting up our double J hook on the shed. So now we're going to position our mounting rails, and these have the 2 different hook positions, and that'll make more sense here when we get everything mounted up and I show you with the actual ramps mounted onto the shed. But you're going to get enough rails for a 72-inch wide or 6-foot wide door. So depending on how big of a door you're doing, 2 rails would work perfect for a 48-inch door. This is a 54-inch door. I am still just going to do 2 rails, and I'll show you how that works out well in this situation. But just know if you want to, you can cut down one of those rails with a metal blade on a Sawzall or a cutoff wheel on your angle grinder and perfectly fit it in depending on the size of your door, but you'll have up to a maximum of 6 feet. For this specific install, we'll go ahead and bring the brackets in 2 inches from the rough end of the 54-inch door. And vertically, I want to make sure the bottom lip is such that the ramp is low enough so the doors will close. Make sure you check that because you want that lower position to be where you can leave the ramps on all the time and the doors closed. And then that upper position might eliminate a lip to your subfloor just to make it a little smoother getting things in and out. Use your torpedo level and just make sure everything's leveled up side to side before you go ahead and mount with all 1.5-inch long spack screws, securing it to your 2x6 rim joist. Now, once that's all completed, you can go ahead and mount up your ramps in that lower position here on the one side. And then you might want to put a packed gravel base on the diamond plate C-channel end of the ramps. That would make things a little bit more solid for you, but it's up to you. You can just put them on the grass like this as well and it'll work just fine. Now here's the upper mounting position, but that lower mounting point should be such where you can keep the ramps on all the time, close your doors, and have no interference. Also, one big benefit, you can just easily remove these. So you can take them out of the elements, they'll last longer, or you can just use one ramp if you're doing something like a wheelbarrow. And really that's all there is to it. It's the easiest ramp I've ever built and it's perfect for DIYers. Remember, there'll be a link in the description if you want to check it out and use it on your own shed build at home. Now, if you want to check out our most popular shed that we build down here in Georgia, check out this video right here. It'll walk you through the complete 8x12, which is a great size shed and really fits a lot of different yards and applications. And if you want to see the most popular shed for DIYers, a perfect place to start off, check out the video right here and it'll walk you through a complete 4x8 lean-to build. So thanks for joining us on this video and we'll catch you on one of those next ones. Take care.